While investing in intangible assets drives progress, many companies overlook IP in protecting this growth. To expand on this, we have Dr. Ko Shu-won from the National University Health System and Aditya Mathur of Elevate.vc. Aditya, what has changed in terms of IP prioritization amongst startups?
We've seen a pretty big change across the last 5 years. We've seen in the past where companies would come out of a research institute and then try and scramble around to figure out what they should do with their IP. We found that the big difference now, and just to clarify, Elevate invests only in deep tech companies. We are finding more and more that companies with real tangible, intangible assets in terms of their scientific breakthroughs or engineering capabilities have really started thinking about what IP means from a strategic perspective. So it's not only now business development and marketing, but it's also what is the IP strategy that can help them truly create the biggest moats that they possibly can to create the biggest value for their company that they possibly can.
I believe IP is both an offensive and defensive strategy, right? And right off the bat, we advise our startups to think about their patent portfolio, think about their patent strategy. As Aditya said, like what is the moat? What is the barrier to entry that you're building to give yourselves a head start and an advantage, right? So it's really now putting IP forefront and center as they're thinking about how to go out and raise funding, how to attract customers, how to make sure that they are ahead of their competitors.
Aditya, how can startups leverage their IP to attract potential investors?
There are various ways. So, just going back to the beginning of startup culture and VC culture, if you will, or VC investments, they always started with real technological developments. And this is going back to the time of Intel Semiconductors or Fairchild and Genentech or Cisco. So I think we've come back full circle where companies are really looking at core technologies, core engineering processes in a manner to create completely new engineering, actually entirely new industries and industry assets. Those are the sorts of areas that certainly Elevate likes to invest in, and most other investors like to invest in. So what we would be looking for when founders are trying to pitch to us with incredible technologies is how are they thinking about both patenting core IP and or having additional foreground IP that would be difficult to crack. And a third very crucial area that we look for is what are the trade secrets that they can either hold back or not hold back or put forward. And to Dr. Shu-won's point, how do they think about being offensive with their or playing offense with their IP, and in what manner do they think of playing defense with it? So we think that there's a lot of different ways that you can really leverage the value of your company using your IP assets and thinking through how you're deploying them.
Well, as you pointed out, it's an intangible asset, right? So how do you then craft a narrative around your IP portfolio and your IP strategy? Because at the end of the day, your investors want to know that they can, bet on you and that bet is going to pay off. So it's articulating that not just to investors, but also to customers.
Dr. Ko, what are some common IP management pitfalls that startups should attempt to avoid?
I would say there are two that really come to mind. One is asking for IP assignment too early, right? So we often would license IP exclusively to startup. And again, this is in the deep tech space. And for all intents and purposes, an exclusive license is more than sufficient for a startup to get going. Some, I would say, maybe inexperienced or investors who are used to maybe more like FMCG or consumer type companies prefer that the institution get out of the way and assign the IP. But the thing is, deep tech startups are still in a unstable stage, right? So if we were to assign the IP and something goes wrong, there's very little or very um, it's a very troublesome procedure to seek any recourse. Whereas if it was a license, we can always terminate the license, the institution, take it back and hold on to it and have the startup take another shot at it in a different entity. Whereas if it was assigned, it's actually very painful to recover if it all is possible. The other thing about assignment is the cost, right? So if we were to assign the IP, we need to quote a value, and often that value is in lieu of royalties that would otherwise be due to us. And a startup doesn't have that kind of cash flow to pay for assignment, right? So asking for assignment too soon is one pitfall. Another one another piece of advice I would have is create your own foreground IP quickly. Build up your own IP portfolio quickly so that your intangible asset pool strengthens, your portfolio is attractive. It bodes well for follow-on funding. It bodes well for you just having control over your patent portfolio.
Thank you both very much for your time today, Dr. Ko and Aditya.
Thank you, Simon. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks, Aditya. This was fun.
Again, our guests were Dr. Ko Shu Wen, Director for Innovation Transfer Office at the National University Health System, and Mr. Aditya Mathur, Founder and Managing Director of Elevate.vc. For more news, please visit sbr.com.sg.